Well, hello again, everybody. Thanks for joining us at Stay Plugged In for today's Spincast. Joining us from the state of Ohio, from Wright State University, we have Samuel CARY, who is the team organizer for their Super Smash Brothers team. And we also have Ryan SLATER, who is the president of their esports club there. Hope you guys are doing well, and thank you for joining us.
Thank you.
We typically just jump right into it, and what I would ask is you guys just kind of give us a little bit of your background, how you got to Wright State, how you got involved with esports in general, and obviously how you got to the position you're currently in at the university. So without further ado, Ryan, I'll start with you. Go ahead.
I think it's fair to start with the history of the club, how the club started. 2 years ago, it was formed as a League of Legends club, and then they added Smash Bros. And started picking up some other games and started to gain traction as sort of an esports club. I became president of it in February this year, when my whole thing was starting to rebrand it, take over it, change it from a League of Legends club with a bunch of other games into a generic esports club. Now we're focusing on both competitive teams and non-competitive teams.
Okay.
So I actually found out about the club, though, last year, sometime in the fall semester, when I started playing for the Number 6 team we had there. It was a new game for the club that just started forming. We got, I think, 7 or 8 people interested in it, and came in from there. And then the president who founded it was stepping down, so I ran, and now I'm the president.
Gotcha. Cool. Samuel, how about you?
So I've always been a huge competitor throughout my entire life, but I've never really competed in video games until within the past year. When I started going to Wright State, of course, I'd take some time in between classes, and I'd see kids playing Smash Brothers, which I really, really liked. You know, I'd see them playing in the student atrium or whatever, and I'd join them. And for the first couple months, I absolutely got my butt handed to me. I had no idea the kind of level I was getting myself into. But it made me want to do more and play more. So I practiced more. And while I didn't go to any tournaments or stuff like that, I loved the competitive atmosphere that the guys had, and I have a lot of friends among them now. When it came to last year, right before Ryan became president, the president before then was trying to organize a bunch of competitive stuff. He got some of the Wright State competitive Smash players. We went out to a tournament in Ohio State that he helped set up and organize all of that. So that was really my first real taste into competing at Wright State. And now that, a couple months passed after that, and we were like, wow, we really don't have anyone running a tournament anymore. So I just kind of like, why not? What I did was our Wright State tournaments for the past 3 years haven't been very big. It was just always composed of people at Wright State. You know, the same 2 people would basically win every week, even though we got out a bunch of students. What I did was I reached out to not just Ryan and more officers of Raider Esports, because I wasn't associated with that whatsoever. But I also reached out to the larger Dayton Smash community, and I integrated Wright State into that. So now we have a huge scene that likes to come out when we have our tournaments on campus, and all the stuff from that. I get a lot of support from Ryan. I get a lot of support from Raider Esports and from the school in general. So I'm just trying. My whole goal is to integrate the competitive Smash scene into both the competitive Dayton scene as a whole and into Raider Esports.
Awesome. Let's talk about that. Let's stay on that for just a moment. You talked about before, initially, it was really just students within the campus scene. Now you kind of opened it up to Dayton. So talk prior how those tournaments looked. I know you mentioned that just a couple kids would seemingly win all the time, but numbers-wise, how many people would you have compete versus now, once you've opened it up, how much larger has it become?
When the semester started, we might have 16. We'd have a bunch of kids who are new to campus or new to a semester and like, hey, a Smash tournament, I want to come out and see how well I do. But then after a few weeks, we usually just dwindle down to about 8.
Okay.
And then there have been tournaments in Dayton for years, and the people who were most competitive at Wright State went to them, so I wanted to go to them too. But I discovered this huge scene that kind of had an overlap, but had never really touched. So as soon as I started opening things up to the active Dayton, I started working more on advertisement at Wright State. So we've gotten a ton more kids come out just from campus.
Yep.
But getting people from Dayton as a whole has boosted our numbers from 8 to an average of about 30 per week.
Wow. Wow, that's awesome. That's almost 4 times as much. That's pretty good. It's pretty good. So, Ryan, over to you. If you could describe your club as a whole, I'm sure you play a variety of different games. Tell us a little bit about that. What types of games? What are the teams that you feel currently anywhere are the most competitive? And what types of tournaments do you hold? Are they on campus? It sounds like some of the teams went to, I think you mentioned Ohio State, et cetera. Just give us a brief background of kind of what a student coming in to your club can expect.
So from a club perspective, we're a newer club since we're going through a rebranding phase right now, going from the League of Legends club to an esports club.
Mm-hmm.
So our focus right now is getting members in. And that means that if you want to play a game, pretty much whatever it is, we'll accept it. We want to focus on multiplayer games and especially competitive games if people are interested in that. So currently we have 3 different competitive teams with the Rainbow Six team, League of Legends, and Super Smash Bros.
Awesome.
We're trying to reach out more and get more people in from Wright State and even outside of Wright State. We started integrating alumni and faculty even into our club.
Very cool.
We have some limitations, like if you're not a Wright State student, you can't compete for Wright State. But if you're a faculty who wants to play, or alumni, or guests, the Discord server we're running out of has around 200 people in it, just kind of idling around. And so we've got a 200 member presence and about 50, 60 or so active members, which has doubled in the past few months, up to 60 now.
Wow.
So we are, through the quarantine, we're kind of blowing up a little bit.
Gotcha.
The whole rebranding has really expanded our horizons a bit to the rest of the Wright State student body. So right now we're looking for anyone who just wants to come and play. And if people start playing, getting interested, then maybe more competitive teams would be cool. That's the end goal, at least.
Yeah, no doubt. Awesome. As similar to Wright State's story, the collegiate scene in general has really started to explode, even prior to this COVID-19. Obviously, more and more people are paying attention to it now as we're kind of locked down and have nothing more to do to a degree. But even prior to that, years before that, I mean, the numbers of growth, or the percentage of growth year after year, has been fairly astronomical. So for you, where you're positioned currently, Ryan, if you could fast forward a year or 2 or 3, how do you see that in continued growth developing for Wright State? What would you like to see?
The end goal of this club is to hopefully become more of an athletic club and run out of the athletic departments. The Horizon League at Wright State actually runs League of Legends tournaments, but we're not integrated with them yet. Okay. So we're trying to build up membership, and I think that hopefully in 3 years, maybe we'll have a club room where we can start, hosting our own tournaments out of more frequently and having team practices and hosting just LAN events, whatever we want to do for those kinds of things, where we have competitive teams who will compete online and travel to different tournaments. We're in the process right now of trying to get funding for a club room. Once we get that, I think we'll be able to really spread wings and fly.
Yeah, no doubt. Awesome. So kind of back to you for a moment, Samuel, from a competitive perspective, for a person coming into your club and now they're playing Smash, they're with you, tell me a little bit about what their day-to-day is like. Do you guys practice routinely? Is it kind of no, just get together and let's play? How's that?
How it's always been is, of course, we all have our daily classes. We all go to those every single day. There's never been a set period of time of everyone who's a part of Raider Esports meet here and practice here. Because running Smash is a lot simpler than running something like League of Legends. You don't need a computer for every single person. Mm-hmm. Really, all you need is one person with a console and everyone to have their own controllers. Mm-hmm. So usually what would happen is we have, over the past year, we've set up an unofficial rotation of people who would bring a console, and anyone who wants to come by can play and practice. And then when that person has to go to class, another person would set up their console and they'd keep playing, and more people would come by and more people would leave. So how it kind of works is every single time you go by the student atrium in Wright State, there is almost always going to be at least 2 people playing Smash Brothers together.
Gotcha. So it really is a club atmosphere. Hey, come when you can. Let's have some fun. Let's play some
Hmm.
games. Let's get better at it. Let's go compete. And then obviously when tournaments come around, it's kind of probably all hands on deck. Stay
Yep.
with that for a moment. Let's talk more on that, Samuel, from a social aspect. Because I think a lot of people think video games, okay, you're in your room, you're playing, and you're not getting out to talk to anybody. From a social aspect, how does that affect your campus life on a day-to-day basis? Not just while you're going to play the game with some of your friends, but even when the games aren't being played socially, what does that mean to you?
I actually have. This is easily the most personal thing about me here on campus because for my first year at Wright State, I was just kind of there. You know, I went to classes, I did my schoolwork, I had exams or whatever. I didn't really hang out with people outside of people who I went to high school with or still talked over the phone or whatever.
Hmm.
Um, Being able to play Smash at Wright State, you know, as casually as I was, and then as I started to get to know the people who I was playing with more, and I got to hang out with them more, that's what really gave me this idea that okay, I actually want to be on campus, and this idea of being able to look forward to seeing people at school uh, that I've been not just playing with, but we go out after tournaments, we hang out and eat at restaurants, or we go to people's houses. We just hang out like we're normal friends now. But that all started because I just wanted to sit down in a chair and play some Smash Brothers.
Yeah, no, that's pretty cool. That's heartwarming to know. Again, especially as a parent, once you let your son or daughter kind of leave the home, that they have landed on their own 2 feet and have started to network with other kids that are similar interests as they do and kind of go from there. So that's pretty cool. Ryan, let's go back for a moment and talk about the academic side of things. For people that within your club, I know for a number of different schools, they'll have GPA regulations once they form actual teams and everything else. But based on your club membership, do you find that the majority of the people in the club are struggling academically, or no, not really? They're just, this is just part of their daily routine.
I mean, you're always going to find students at extreme highs and lows. I think the club, as an average, does pretty well. We're working on getting it out so we can get an actual pull out of exact GPAs and things. We can actually advertise a specific number. From what I've done from personal research, we have around a 3.5 or higher GPA average.
That's not bad.
It's not bad. We do have some even higher than that. We have some lower. We have policies for competitive teams, but to join the club, there's no GPA requirement as long as you're in good academic standing. If you start to slip out of that, then we advertise a lot of help to people, especially if they're competitive team members, they get more visibility. We actually, in fact, had a team member have some problems, and for one of the first things I did was reach out to him and say, hey, if you need me, I'm here. I'll get you all the resources you need. Got him in contact with some other people, and we always reach out for those kinds of people once we learn about them. And we always prioritize that. Academics come before sports. Think of this like it's like a sport. You go to college for learning, and then you play sports on the side. And that might be a true passion of yours. You might even enjoy that more than school, but academics comes first. That's why you're here. So as a club, we back that all the members are doing well.
Awesome. And it's great to hear that there's that support system that you're able to provide. Because you're right, it could be any sport. It doesn't matter if it's esports. It doesn't matter if it's basketball, baseball, football, whatever. I think lots of kids can potentially lose their identity to a degree and look at themselves as, this is what I do. I play basketball, or I play baseball, or I game professionally, whatever, versus I'm here to go to school. Without the parent and the voice anymore, that's probably one of the bigger concerns parents have. So to know that Wright State has that support is fantastic. So staying along that same vein in terms of talking a little bit more about your club, for some of your competitive teams, who do you most like to scrim against? Who are some of your biggest rivals, that type of thing? What gets them going?
We have just started a couple of teams up since we've gone through the rebranding. I know personally, since I'm on the Rainbow Six team, who we play against, we set up some tournaments with some other teams. We've got friends. I think there's one NCU, and we actually have a UC member of their esports club. He's actually in our Discord, and so
Nice.
We play with him a lot. Since we just got out of our first tournament not that long ago, we're starting to look at more scrims and stuff. Cool. And I know League does some scrims. I don't know off the top of my head what they do, since I'm not too integrated in their day-to-day stuff. But
Understood.
we do have some officers from other universities in our Discord that we are in contact with quite frequently.
Understood. Well, I'm sure as you grow, obviously, and you start to compete even more and more, especially once you get at a higher and higher level, those natural rivals will start to produce themselves. So that'll be something to look forward to. Samuel, for you, you talked about a tournament, for example, that you went over to Ohio State to play in. Are there a number of different schools that offer those types of opportunities where you're able to go potentially to their site to play in some tournaments? And if so, tell me a little bit about what that atmosphere is like.
Absolutely. How Smash works as a game is that we don't get to practice online like people do. Our tournaments have to be in person. We can't really play over the internet because that's just not how fighting games are tuned to play.
Mm-hmm.
So as of last year, what Kyle organized was a part of when we went to Ohio State. It was a big tournament. It wasn't just kids from Ohio State. There were kids from Toledo. There were kids from Cincinnati and Miami. There were even kids from all the way up in Michigan who came down to Columbus and played in this tournament. And the big draw of it was a crew battle between the 5 best players from each school.
Nice.
But even I remember first stepping foot into that room, it was just the size of a normal classroom. Actually, no, a little bit bigger. But they had TVs everywhere, all over the walls. A couple tables in the middle had just TVs and setups all over them, and you could everywhere you looked, there were people at setups playing or whatever. It's a really electrifying atmosphere being able to be in a place with people you don't know but are as passionate and as competitive as you. So even now, my Smash Bros. Squad, we're doing our best to make the best use of quarantine as we can. Since playing online isn't really optimal, what we do is we go into Discords of other esports clubs at other colleges, especially Miami. Miami and Cincinnati are our 2 big ones.
Gotcha.
But we go and we've been planning several big tournaments like that for fall because, as you said, esports leagues are really picking up. They've never really been bigger before, and where every single school is expecting great things for fall.
Yeah, that's awesome. Yeah, I agree. I think it's growing by leaps and bounds, and we'll only see better things because of it as people start to really formalize plans and regulate systems from school to school. So, Ryan, I'm going to leave with one last question for you, kind of going off of that. There's not really a governing body, if you will, for esports. It's kind of, I don't want to say it this way, but it kind of is. Each school's on their own to put their program in place, their club in place, their team in place, et cetera. And of course, there are leagues that are out there that you can join, so you can compete against other teams within your division or outside, up to based on the league. What would you like to see if you could wave that magic wand and say, hey, you know what? This is ultimately what I'd like Wright State to look like when I'm gone in respect to full-blown teams, club, everything. What would it look like in your eyes?
So I'm seeing the area around us, OSU, UC, Akron. There's some of the biggest esport clubs in the nation.
Yep.
And we kind of are a smaller school. I'd like to bring us up a bit closer to that. Now, we're not going to be able to compete with OSU. we're a sixth of their size. But I'd like to be on the map more. I want Wright State to be a name that people can recognize for having a big esports club that's constantly active, constantly pushing for new things, all kinds of interaction between all the students. I really want us to really expand and just grow as a community. There's a lot of untapped potential in our area, and that's what I want to see Wright State break into.
Awesome. Well, I certainly believe the future is bright for esports in general. I think you guys obviously do a tremendous job of what you've done to this point at Wright State. So we sincerely wish you the best as we move forward. Hope you guys can stay safe and get through this quarantine until we get to a little bit more normality, and hopefully the fall will bring great things for more events, more tournaments, and more fun within your program. So again, sincerely appreciate you both coming on. Wish you both the very best, and let's make sure to circle back. I'd love to catch back up with you guys down the road in the fall and just touch base, see how things are going.
Absolutely. Thank you.
Thanks a lot. Yeah, we're really looking to explode as soon as all this is over. So I'm excited.
I believe it. I believe it. I think we all are looking forward to that day. So
Yeah.
thanks again, guys.
Thank you.
Thank you.